Morning. The Lord finally decided to bless us with some rain. Hallelujah. It's going to make a huge difference to plants that are still growing and for plants that I planted at my daughter's cabin and so on. So I'm really happy. This morning, I wanted to talk about the court of public opinion, the trial by social media, and why it's kind of pervasive. Okay, it's not a legal thing, but you know what I'm talking about. Whenever there's a shooting, whenever there's a scandal, everyone gets on social media, gives their opinion, and then things like tweets saying Trump must go, and the name of the person. Gosh, I'm trying to think if I saw anything specific. Like, they don't come right out and say kill that person, but all the comments are about how guilty a person is for different things, for something they said or something they did. For example, Rand Paul left the RNC convention thing held at the White House, and a mob, a group of individuals, ran over there yelling at him, chasing him, scaring him. He called the police, and he had to be escorted back to his car. He and his wife, both of them. They were fearing for their lives, okay? Because, as I've said in other videos, if you're in a crowd of 30, they can easily kill a person. All they got to do is, hit you enough times or kick you enough times, and they'll do enough damage, and you will die. Well, the tweets about him were, he's guilty of something. Racism. I think he was accused of being guilty of racism. But in America, having somebody accuse you is not the same as you are now guilty. In America, you are guaranteed the right to a court trial, to have your case heard. And that's one of the reasons I said the police in our country have been militarized, and it happened in the war on drugs, when they went from just being like beat cops to having AR-15s and body armor and MRAPs and everything. And what has happened is the amount of time you are given to, between them saying, hey, stop, and then possibly shooting you, has gone from minutes, hours, days, to 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Whoops. Look, there's a very romantic, up in the corners there, we got a dreamy look now. Ooh, it's the rain on the camera. Right to having your case heard in court has been shortened and then sometimes eliminated by the cop being allowed to decide right then and there, if he thinks his life is in danger, then he can defend himself and use deadly force. And so it's become more common. You don't see the police officer sitting there having the discussion and let's reason this out and let's talk about what's going on, and having any sympathy for their victims. They're making the law be very cut and dried, and in some cases it just goes really fast. And I think that's a problem. It's something that the criminal justice system should look at and tweak. But when there's 40,000 tweets or likes or retweets or whatever on Twitter for Rand Paul's guilty of racism, and he deserves that mob to attack him, to knock the phone out of his sister-in-law's hand, to throw bottles and cans at them because he's guilty, that is the same thing. If you think Rand Paul's guilty of something, then you bring charges against Rand Paul, and then the police and their legal system decide whether you have enough evidence and a strong case to bring it to court. And even then, your lawyer can argue with them and make them do it, because it's your right if you have evidence to support it. You can't just make a claim with no evidence. That's not going to go beyond he said, she said, right? So the problem with all of this is trial by social media is not legal. The court of public opinion does not have any legal ability to enforce anything, to jail anybody, anything like that. But it can be used politically, meaning if you drum up enough support for your particular point of view, you can then at least try to influence something like a court case or a sentencing decision by a judge or a jury. And they are supposed to be impartial, which means they're not supposed to already have decided one way or the other if someone's guilty or not. The case has to go all the way through. All the evidence has to be presented. And that's why sometimes judges will move the location of a trial because the public is outside, complaining and holding placards or chanting or whatever. Obviously, there's a bias there. And the thing about the law is, doesn't matter how many people say Rand Paul is guilty of racism. He has to have broken a law. He has to have broken a law, been caught in the act of doing that. There have to be witnesses against him, and somebody has to bring charges against him for it to actually do something in the legal system. And so trial by social media is it's a scary thing. It's a political move. It's people trying to influence circumstances outside of the legal system. And our legal system is supposed to resist that. It's supposed to resist that. But then when you politicize it, you can take that cause and then start saying what they do on Twitter. Everybody go vote. Everybody go vote. Everybody go vote. If I can't charge Rand Paul with racism, if I'm just, accusing someone of something because, I can say, all right, everybody vote Democrat, everybody vote Independent, everybody vote Republican in the next election, and we'll get these guys out of office. That's how politics works. It's not the same thing as legal. Sometimes they cross. But, yeah, that's what's being done right now, and that's why people like Pastor Joe say we're in a guerrilla war. Because the political stuff is what defines that kind of war. And that's what that is right there. So there you have it. That's my opinion. Now, the thing about trial by social media is the people who are the accusers do not necessarily understand the law. They bring their accusations and charges based on emotional decisions, based on little snippets of information, and they take it and they run with it. They pronounce people guilty of crimes without understanding the actual law and what you can charge people with. And they also charge them on the basis of their own feelings. Now, I get it. Feelings are valid. Feelings are important. But feelings and the law are two different things. And so you cannot condemn a person based on your very small perception, like the little snippet of video that's 30 seconds long that shows a certain action. It's only part of a bigger picture. And so you have to have, that's what context means. 30 seconds of a guy punching another guy could be any number of things. It could be they both had words with each other and they'd already accused each other and threatened each other, and then the one guy hits the other guy. It could be that the one guy just insulted or pushed or shoved the other guy's mom and he's coming to her defense. It could be the one guy's drunk as a skunk and the other guy's not. And the other guy's like, hey man, take it easy man, whatever, and the drunk guy hits him. It could be a road rage incident. It could be any number of things, but we don't know that until we have all the facts. And that's what a trial's for, to assemble facts and present them. But just because you saw something, I mean, I've seen people make comments about governmental things, legal things that they obviously don't understand. People who know nothing about the military saying things about military people and their actions. And that's just what ignorance is. You cannot make those statements without understanding the entirety of the situation. And that's what trial by social media is doing. It's allowing people to voice opinions out into a void without having to think through anything. They can just blurt it out and they think that's valid. And it's not. And it's also being manipulated, because I've seen posts by people They just make a post very inflammatory. They never comment again. It could even be something, a bot generated by their computer or a program or whatever. But real people reply, and real people's emotions get stirred up, and real people are voicing opinions and comments to these initial statements. And many of those initial statements are fake news. They're inflammatory. They're not based on any evidence. For instance, people saying Trump is manipulating the post office. Well, Trump can't appoint the head of the post office. That person is elected by a board of members. Trump can assign the board of members, but they elect the head. And there's lots of offices in the government like that. Trump has been appointing judges because that's a job. It's part of the executive branch, and he's allowed to do that, and so is every other president. Obama got to put into office people that were from his party. That's part of being elected and being part of a party, and when you win, you know, you get to appoint cabinet members and so on that are people in your party. That's how our legal system works. It's not illegal. And all the presidents get to do it. But our press right now will say, you know, Trump's stacking the deck, or Trump's doing this or that. It's because they're trying to put that disinformation out, which is not the job of a news media. News media is supposed to be fair and balanced. And it's also the political people trying to get a political result, trying to swing our whole culture towards the left. All right. Thanks for watching. I've got to go take care of everybody now. Let me see if I can show this guy. The billy goat. He's got to get moved. And the girls back there. All right, so bless you. Shalom.